So we've had quite an adventure in the last 24 hours. We've had a beautiful sail yesterday, unbelievably calm seas, and we sailed right in to a nice anchorage. But unfortunately, we had a distress on the radio, and an American couple with a young child, they basically had a complete engine failure for whatever reason, still not established. So that was last night, and we gave them a bit of a tow to an anchorage, and we all got some rest. And now we are actually towing them at the moment back to an anchorage outside the major port. So that is what we're going to do today, and yeah, just thought it's interesting for you guys to see. We've got the tow set up is pretty much as good as we can get it, really, and yeah.
Me porté súper bien.
¡Wow, Beatrice! ¡Un aplauso a Beatrice! ¡No dijo nada!
Beatriz es la nueva capitana del barco.
Ah, ¿qué tal,
Te queda bien, ¿eh?
Me va bien.
It looks
No, bueno,
very
sin
nice.
duda, todos nos trae, mira, marcando el paso.
Sí, aquí aprendiendo.
El estilo de capitana lo tienes, sin duda alguna.
And with more practice and more experience, you'll see it. So you can see on top of the water, you'll first of all, when it goes from calm to rough, you'll see the little white caps. Well, the white caps, yes, that's definitely wind coming to you, but you'll start to see the little gusts on top of the water.
Okay.
And the more experience you have, the more you'll see it, and the more time you spend at sea. So now we're starting to get up to nearly 4 knots now, and it doesn't feel like anything.
Hola, chicos.
¡Hey!
And so, you know, for some of the older boats, you know, 4 knots is a pretty acceptable speed. Sorry, guys. So it's quite important. See the after reefing point. It's quite important for a nice sail shape that we get tension in the back, because it gives. You can see already. See this nice shape here.
Yeah.
That curve, like an aircraft, like the wing of a plane. You want that shape. So see the tension. So what we might do is just drop this a little bit more, so I can.
We're like saying, oh yeah, we just from Pacific or Mexicans. And they were like giving us all this fruit for free. And they're huge, like the grapefruits were like almost the size
Aquí cocinando, tratando de cocinar. Eva acá cocinando. Aquí Elba. Oh, se pudo. Allá los chicos volando. Mi mamá, quién sabe qué está haciendo. Y mi papá luciendo sus leggings por allá.
¿Qué madre es? Parece, picó otro. Wow. Mande.
You can walk the line over here, buddy. Sit over here. Take the line over.
Woo. ¿Y qué tal este pescado ahí?
Y mira, allá atraparon uno o no.
Sí, al parecer.
So we're doing pretty good speeds. We've got quite a cold Mexican wind, actually. It's a little bit like being back in the UK. But we're crossing the Sea of Cortez, and we've got that beautiful wind direction. So we've basically got a broad reach, which, you know, is mostly we can modify it, but a broad reach on this boat becomes, you know, eventually the wind starts to become a little bit forward on a beam reach, because she's quite slippery. And but we constantly play this game of you know, if we can try and keep up as much sail and the genoa up, then if we bear off the wind, we we reduce the apparent wind so we can keep that sail up. But that means that obviously you're just going a little bit further away from your destination. At the moment, our destination's kind of like, let's say 060, but if I bear off to 075, it'll just get the apparent wind down, because the true wind's sitting at 20, 21 knots at the moment, but we've got all sails up. And interestingly, I've got my friend Matthias, who's on board sailing vessel San, and he's got the carbon rig, and his own custom carbon rig, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He's even got a carbon boom, and it's quite interesting to see. He's got all sail up now, which is, he's got a little bit more, significantly more sail area. So not only is it he's a fantastic sailor, and he's got the appetite for it, but this is, there's no point to get a carbon rig basically unless you're going to use it. But I can tell you, Matthias definitely uses it. But it's just quite interesting to see. And under normal circumstances, I think a lot of people wouldn't really exploit the carbon rig, but Matthias is getting the best out of it. So Matthias left a little bit, San left a little bit earlier, about an hour and a half earlier than us. And when we came out of the port, once we came out, then at sea they were about maybe 8 miles ahead. And so now we're about halfway through our journey, and he's basically got maybe another 2.5 miles on us, I'd say, maybe 3. And if Eva shows you here, I can show you on the chart, you can see that this is my maroon line is 10 miles I've set it up as, and you can see that he's just nearly 10 miles away. But when we first started off, he was about let's say 7.5, maybe 8. So you can see he's gaining on us, and we're getting pretty good speeds at the moment. We've just bared off down the wind a little bit, because at the moment we're getting gusting up to about 23 knots. So just trying to keep that apparent wind down and aft of the beam. It's quite a successful formula on this boat, pretty comfortable. Now, this is a piece of equipment some of you have asked me about. This is both a wind and a water turbine. And as you can see, when we're flying a hull, although she is submerged when I drop it in, I found that it didn't take the very large waves too well. And I think on a monohull this would have more benefit. But it's the fact that we fly a hull, or maybe on a cat you could get it to work as well, but I don't think this is something I would buy again. The power output generally is nowhere near that of solar. So maybe for long passages like Pacific crossing Atlantic might be worthwhile. But I don't think I'd buy it again, to be honest. It's called a Duo Gen. Here's another useful one that I've added to my equipment. These are actually tactical gloves, and although we're not going to be in any war zones, hopefully, they're very useful because the fishing lines don't cut through them. I don't use them at all when we're working with the lines, but they're very useful for managing fish, and we've actually caught and released a shark recently, so I was very glad for them. And I highly suggest that if you're going to be doing any fast fishing, remember we're doing 9.5, 10 knots, and anything you catch, the lines are going to run out very fast. So trying to get those in is going to be tricky. So you can see we've got the 3 setup that works well for us. That's my biggest. She's a very big lure, and then set up over here.